How's it going, everybody? Missy Mimi's here. Gonna do a little video on the upcoming conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. It's definitely very fascinating. Alright, so we're just gonna jump in here, and where I'm gonna start us at is in Nazareth, Israel, and we went back to 929.6 or -6, so that would be 6 BC. So the reason I'm doing this video is because there is a lot of interesting things happening in the world right now, whether it's earthquakes in diverse places or whether it is for example, constellation lineups or conjunctions of planets, solar eclipses, and so on and so forth. So, excuse me. Now the conjunction, which is coming up, which they're calling the Christmas star, is a very significant event. Not only because it happened, 800 years ago, and this is the first time we're like at least this close together in 800 years, but it also happened 2,000 years ago. So, and what else? There's a lot of misconception on the Christmas star. Like, they're calling it the Christmas star right now because, I mean, since the beginning, since the birth of Christ, a lot of people, excuse me, my goodness, sorry about that. A lot of people have the misconception that Christ was born on Christmas, and actually this is wrong. He was conceived on Christmas of 7 BC, and he was born September 29th of 6 BC, actually, which is what we're looking at right here. And as you can see, there is the Star of Bethlehem. And he was born in the city of Nazareth, which is where we have this located. So there it is. And so what made this significant today compared to 2,000 years ago? So we can actually go into that now. The constellation at the time had a conjunction at the birth of Christ in the constellation Pisces. And Pisces is the fish sign, and the fish represents Christianity. The symbol of Christianity is the fish. So Christ coming into the world to die for the sinners, that was the sign of significance. Now, if we go back, like I said, if we go back to Christmas, okay, of 7 BC, we will turn off the constellations. I'm using the Stellarium app. So, okay, see, there's nothing in the sky that year. No Christmas star. So, figured we'd debunk that like right now. See, you can see it. Look at Saturn and Jupiter a year prior. Completely separated. Okay, so we're now going to skip ahead to, we'll go to now. Alrighty, as you can see, the sun is about to rise in Israel. So that's where we're still located here, and you can see Venus and the Sun coming up on the horizon. So it's about 5 a.m., almost 5:30 a.m. there at this time. So what makes it so significant today? What makes it significant today compared to 2,000 years ago is we're going to be talking some end times. So what makes it significant is not just that it's happening. I mean, it happened 800 years ago, but it's also the fact of the constellation it happens in, and the time, and the like the signs of the seasons, and so on and so forth. So this is going to this happened 2,000 years ago when Christ was born. So that means I feel this is super significant, and it's in doing so of it happening now, it's going to be, I believe, the second coming of Christ. It's like I feel like it's a sign or precursor to what's to come. Like what's coming, I mean, obviously the abomination of desolation will be coming first, and then Christ at the seventh trump. Any end timers out there will know about that. And but yes, the abomination of desolation will come first. He will not come second. So it's definitely, we're getting there. I mean, we've got earthquakes in diverse places. We have wars, rumors of wars. We're definitely in Matthew 24. So let's go ahead and get started. So what makes this the most significant right at this very moment? Okay. We're going to take away the atmosphere, and we're going to take away the atmosphere and the ground, because we're going to do some looking into why it's significant. We're going to turn on the constellations. Got some artificial satellites there. Okay, it's kind of cool when I when I come across those. I've actually come across a few meteors on here. It's actually pretty trippy. So let's see. Okay, so what makes this significant? When this conjunction happened 2,000 years ago, it happened in Pisces. Let's see, yeah. So it happened in Pisces. Now, what makes it significant now is it's going to be happening just before Capricorn. Now remember, Pisces is a fish represents Christianity. Capricorn is also known as the sea goat. And there's a lot of interesting things about Capricorn when you're looking at it from a biblical perspective. Capricorn has the head of a goat, or is half goat, half fish. Well, when you break that down, we've already established that the fish is the symbol for Christianity. Well, we all know that the goat is the symbol for Satanism, or the Satanic Temple, or the Satanic Church. So the sea goat symbol, there's a little bit of there's some interesting stuff about this, okay? So the Christmas star is going to conjoin in everything on the 21st, and it's going to last. Oh, I need to change that. Let's see, I need to change. There we go. That way it will stay with us while we do this. Okay, so it's going to stay through Christmas from our perspective. But as I get closer, you can see them as you get closer. There's Jupiter and its moons, and then we got Saturn and its moons. So, but Saturn, and if you didn't know, because apparently some people don't know, Saturn has a hexagon on the top of it. It's six-sided, and Saturn represents Satan's planet, whereas Jupiter represents the king planet, or Jesus. So what you want to do is you want to follow the ecliptic. And the ecliptic is the clock that the Lord put there for us to watch for signs and seasons, along with the sun, moon, and stars. And Jupiter and Saturn are the hands on the clock. So when you break down Capricorn, I know the zodiac and astrology is out there, and you're not supposed to study it. I totally agree. Man has taken God's ecliptic clock for us to be watching for the second coming of Christ and turned it into witchcraft. And unfortunately, that happens often. Man twists a lot of things that have to do with God. So I don't study astrology or anything, but I do study the importance of the ecliptic and the signs. The constellations were put there for us to be paying attention. They weren't for certain signs, seasons of the coming of Christ, second coming of Christ. They were not put there for us to tell the future or how we're feeling each month, so on and so forth. If we're part of that sign, like, no, I'm not into that. So Capricorn is the sea goat. Its ruling planet is Saturn. Okay. Its element is earth. So if you break that down, when you study end times, I feel like it is a major sign, especially following a solar eclipse, a major biblical sign that we are about to come into a very trying time. Satan will be coming as himself. He and his fallen angels will be coming as themselves. I believe they're already here. They just haven't stepped onto the world stage yet. And things are ramping up with this Abraham Accords happening in Israel, and they're normalizing relations with the Middle East. The Abraham Accords would be what you look at as a peace deal, covenant with many. And then we've got Jerusalem becoming its capital after 70 years, which 70 years is a generation. That's a very important generation. We are the generation of the fig, also known as the final generation, that will not pass on. So the 70 years started when Israel became a nation in 1948 after the 6-year war. And it ended, the 70 years ended in 2018. Okay. 70 years was a generation. 120 years is a generation, and so on and so forth. But the 70-year important generation leading up to Satan stepping onto the stage, the abomination of desolation in Israel as their false Messiah, is coming. And I believe this is a major sign towards it. We know not the day nor the hour of anything happening, but we know the signs and the seasons. We're getting very close. And I mean, with the uptick in earthquakes, the sun coming back to life, and there's a lot of solar activity. We just had another solar eclipse in South America, and then this is following that. If you break that down, the last significant biblical sign followed a solar eclipse also, which was back in 2017, and we'll get to that in a second. But when you break it down, this symbol, this sign, is this constellation, in my opinion, represents the battle between good and evil. The fish represents Christianity. The goat represents Satan, and who is the evil of the world. And of all planets to converge near and then going into the sign for the next year or so would be are the two main planets that we should be watching, and the same two planets which converged 2,000 years ago at the birth of Christ. So I believe this is a sign of his second coming. Like I said, we just don't know the day or the hour. We have to be watching. Israel's the key. So if you Israel, we should be watching. Now, I find it very fascinating also that this specific sign is ruled by Saturn, which is Satan's planet. It has a six-symboled hexagon on top of it, and then it has an earth. The symbol or element for that specific sign also is earth. So for all we know, if you really break it down and you really look at it, this could be a sign of Satan stepping onto the world stage very quickly. The Sanhedrin and several other rabbis recently in Israel have put out that they expect their Messiah or false Messiah within the next 2 years. And they've already ordered the ceremonial robes he'll wear. They're already preparing everything for the third temple. They know something. They know more than they're letting on. They're a people who follow Torah law. They follow Torah law, and the law states that they cannot predict Messiah. So the fact that they're putting out a timeline of when he's supposed to come means they know more than they're letting on. They have already claimed earlier this year that they are in talks with their Messiah. They just have not put it out there yet that he is here, like fully here. He has to step onto the world stage claiming to be Christ. And unfortunately, a lot of people are going to hop on that boat. So, but he is a false Messiah. He's not the true Messiah. Christ came and he died for us. He resurrected and ascended. So the next time he comes is at the seventh trump. He cannot come before because he has to fulfill. All prophecy must be fulfilled before the seventh trump is blown. And that means the sixth comes first. Children, it's easy. Children can count to 6 or 7, and so can we. And he does not come, and then Satan comes, and then he comes again. He comes at the seventh trump, 3 days after the witnesses are killed by Satan in Israel. So he will be showing his face in Jerusalem very soon. And like I said, the rabbis, by Torah law, cannot just put out, oh, we know he's coming this time. It is forbidden. They cannot put out a timeline, or they can't even guesstimate when he's supposed to come. they now believe that he's coming very soon, because the Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox, I believe, are the ones who rejected Christ and had him killed. And then, so they're the ones who believe that the next one coming is their Messiah, but unfortunately they're going to be very badly deceived. So we're going to get into this now. So I believe without a doubt that coming soon, I think this is just a sign of it's coming. Like I said, we don't know when, but we have to be watching what's going on. Everything, Israel, like I said, is the key. Israel is where we need to be paying attention. Everything that is happening there is very, very, very important to be watching. It's not just the United States. It's not just Russia, China, the world's, the world system, the political system, the new world system. Like, that is the first beast that will rise. We're kind of getting into that now. We're coming into that. Things are starting to fall apart and switch over. Like, they need the one world system to come in first. And then once they bring that in, then when Satan steps onto the world stage, he will be the head of that system. So the first beast rising will be the one world system, which is political, money, political, economic, and so on and so forth. So world economics play a big part in this. If the world economy crashes, then they can implement that system very quickly. And I believe this vaccine and everything going on right now in Israel, I think all of that plays a major part in this coming. Because in Israel, they are stating that if you do not take the vaccine, they are going to put sanctions on people, okay? Until they can't go out and they can't go into businesses, they can't buy, they can't do this, they can't do that. So, in my opinion, I'm wondering whether this virus is real or it's not real. Unfortunately, I'm on the edge of that because in the United States alone, there has been so many discrepancies with it. They've changed a lot of stuff. They've adding COVID deaths to deaths that had nothing to do with COVID, and they never really had it, just to up the numbers. And then we've got this election stuff going on, where it's just chaos. And it's chaos on both sides. So, and then now the fastest vaccine in history. And they're in certain countries like Israel, they're forcing people, like, if you don't take it, then we're not going to let you do this. That kind of reminds me of Revelation 13, where they're talking about, for example, like the mark of the beast. I don't believe this is a mark of the beast, but I believe this is a precursor to taking the mark, because the mark of the beast is in the forehead and the hand. There's a lot of misconception with that. It's not taking a physical mark. In the head, the mark in the head, the mark in the forehead is the seal, which is the sixth seal. The sixth seal, when that is opened, that's when Satan comes, and I had the sixth trump, sixth seal, sixth vial, 666, creepy, right? And but when you break that down, the seal is the mark in the mind, meaning you see him, you believe his miracles in his facade, and you follow him, you worship him. That is the mark of the forehead. The mark in the hand are for ministers. The mark in the hand are ministers leading their flock to him. That would be like certain ministers taking their parishioners by the hand and saying, yeah, he is the Messiah. Please worship him. That is the mark in the hand. That is the mark in the hand are for ministers. So you got to be very careful with who you believe, because you could be being led astray very harshly. And once you take it, there's no going back. So I believe this sign is a major sign of the end times. And I think we're in a major part of it. Like I said, earthquakes ramping up and things like that. You read Matthew 24, you read all of it from beginning to end. King James Version. Don't read any other version because it's been changed to fit certain ministers' agendas. So King James Version is the only one where you can go into the Strong's Concordance and your companion Bibles and look up the Greek text, the Aramaic text, and the Hebrew text, compare it, and properly translate certain things that may not make sense because the translation was a little teeny tiny off. But that's the only one you can go to, which those keys can help you, which means it was the only one that you can trust. So if you have a Strong's Concordance or a companion Bible with your King James Version, they come in handy, let me tell you. So this will be following the solar eclipse in South America. So the solar eclipse in South America was a really interesting one. It came in through Saavedra, Chile, and was seen into Argentina and quite a few areas across South America. And even some parts of the United States were able to catch a very light, very, very light glimpse of it. But for the most part, you really couldn't see anything unless you were down there. But when a major event like this follows a solar eclipse, it is very, very, very important, because the sun represents the Lord, the light, and the moon represents Satan, the dark. There are more solar days than there are lunar days, and that's why when an event like this significant follows a solar eclipse, it is very important. The last time we had an event that followed a solar eclipse was we had the solar eclipse in August 21st, 2017. So we're going to take these away just for a second so I can get over here. Need to get back to the sun here. Okay. Okay, so we're going to have to change our location here. Let's see. Probably have to move it a little bit. But that was viewable throughout the United States that year, and totality happened in the Oregon area. Sorry, I have to play with it a little. There we go. All right. I could type it in. Oh, I hit the wrong button. That's okay. I'm in the right area, so we'll just pop back. Ooh, look at the moon. So pretty. Alrighty, let's try this again. Try not to hit that button. There we go. Alright, so the solar eclipse, the Great American Solar Eclipse, happened August 21st, 2017. Well, there was a major biblical event which followed that. And that was the Revelation 12 sign in the sky. Okay. So that was a very interesting event, and the fact that it happened, it's nice. It's a good thing that See, and the other interesting thing is that solar eclipse happened in Leo. Lord is considered, he comes like a lion, and so on and so forth. So, we're going to jump up here, and that happened September 23rd, 2017, the Revelation sign. And that was a really interesting one, you know. That one happened following that solar eclipse as well. And this one was a major sign. And then not long after that, in February, I believe it was February or March. I'll have to look that up. But February or March of 2018, which followed this event, Jerusalem became the capital of Israel, and the 70 years ended. And I just find it interesting that this happened during the 70 years. And it represents, because Virgo represents Israel, and a woman clothed with the sun, moon at her feet, crown of 12 stars, and she's traveling in, she's about to, like, oh, how does it go? Let's see. I have to read it, otherwise it just doesn't make any sense. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, and a woman clothed with the sun, which the sun is at her shoulders, moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars upon her head. And she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. Now, when you look at it, Virgo represents the Virgin, Jupiter is Christ, okay? And Christ, the planet is within the birthing stage here, so she's travailing in birth, pain to be delivered. Israel, that's when their cup of trembling began. And they were having very crazy unrest at the time. A lot of, because Jerusalem was made the capital of Israel, and the Palestinians were at the border in Gaza, the Gaza Strip, and there was a lot of stuff going on, a lot of bad things. A lot of just craziness, and the cup of trembling lasted quite a while. Well, when it's so the Virgo represents Israel. She's in pain. She's pain to be delivered. Well, unfortunately, that deliverance is going to come in the cover of great deception, because Israel rejected Christ. So they see him as a prophet, not as the Son of God. And really, they killed him not because he claimed that, but also because they felt that he was going to supplant them, the Sanhedrin, and they were corrupt and making money off of the temple and the markets outside the temple, and so on and so forth. And he pretty much they see themselves as righteous and above people. They judge people. They don't really follow the laws of the Lord. But you know, at the time they rejected him, and they had him killed by the Romans because it was their feast days. And during their feast days, they cannot do that. So they handed him over to the Romans and paid the people to release Barabbas, the murderer, over him. And then he was crucified. But it was all part of the plan. He knew it was going to happen. There was nothing that was going to happen to stop it, because prophecy had to be fulfilled. And when he died, he descended into what we know as the Gulf. There is a gulf in which the good were on the good side, and the bad were on the bad side. The bad are still there to this day, since the beginning of time. They cannot leave until the final judgment. The good, which are the dead in Christ, rose. So when you read in Revelation, the dead in Christ rise first. They have already risen. They rose, and Christ took them to heaven, where the Lord is, where God is, when he died for us 2,000 years ago. That has already come to pass. The dead in Christ have already rose. The second ones to go will be the elect. They're the 1,000-year millennium. Those have already passed on, will not take part. They're already in heaven. That's where they remain. Those of us who go through the 5-month tribulation, because the days are shortened, it was 7 years, but it's not. When Satan rises, he will rule for 5 months, May through September. We just don't know the year, but we know the timeline, May through September. And when Satan rises and steps onto the world stage and claims he is Christ, and that in Israel they're going to change everything worldwide. Those who follow Satan will go under the Noahide laws, and I believe the Gentiles will go under another form of law. There's a lot of studying to be done on that, but I'm not going to cover that today. We can cover that another day, if you guys are interested. I'd be more than happy to cover that. We can delve into that a little bit. But yeah, so there's a lot of significance behind these events, and it's interesting to, like I said, say the least, that both events are following a solar eclipse. So my question is, and obviously it's going to be a question because we know not the day nor the hour that the Lord's going to come. So, and we know not the day or the hour that Satan's going to step on the world stage. We know it's going to be May through September. It's just a matter of what year. But I believe that this is a very significant time and very interesting time that we are in right now. A very, very interesting time that we're in right now. And if you really break it down, it's actually a wonderful time to be in, because when the Lord comes, it's a great and terrible day. It really is. It's a great day on the aspect of great day that the Lord is here and to take us to the millennium, where we will sermon. The elect will sermon to those on the bad side for the 1,000-year reign. And then we have, unfortunately, it'll be a terrible day for those who took Satan's mark. That's why they call it the great and terrible day of the Lord at the 7th trump. So, but yeah, I believe with all my heart that this is very significant. And like I said, it's going to be very interesting. So if you're not in an area, I'm telling you right now, get outside, get out there, view it, because you're not going to see this again. At least not, I don't feel, in our lifetime. I think the next time it's supposed to happen is, like, I think it said 2080 or something like that, or maybe further out. I don't know. But if it is as significant as they are saying, which I believe it is, then we're not going to see it again. And it's not going to really matter. We're going to be with the Lord. So if you're, if you're not in an area that's getting some serious weather in that area, during that time, it's going to be, like I said, it's going to conjoin on the 21st, and it's going to go through Christmas. So, if you're able to get a view, get out there and get some pictures, take your kids out, go out, there's not much we could be doing, and most of us who are still under lockdown. So, I mean, get outside and enjoy it, go outside, and if you have a view of it, view it. And like I said, be watching, because next year I think there's some interesting things going to be following this. And all we can do is watch, right? So that's the main thing. It's watching and paying attention and not being led astray. So you guys, I'm gonna leave it at that, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And like I said, if you want to know more, or you find this interesting at all, I mean, even if you're not into, Bible or end times or anything like that, or just not into it at all, and you just like, learning about the stars and the moon and space and the planets, I hope you enjoyed it regardless. So I'm going to leave it at that. So you guys have a wonderful night. And like I said, if you like it, let us know, and we can do another video coming up soon, and we can delve more into what, put some questions in there in the comments. And if you want to hear something or more about something, please feel free to ask. I'm more than willing to delve more into it. So you guys have a wonderful night. Be safe out there. We got some serious earthquake activity going on. So it's definitely ramping up. And I believe solar activity may be playing a part. And this conjunction could be playing a part whenever we have major lineups and things like that, planetary lineups and just solar activity. I believe it plays a major part in earthquake activity. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I will chat with you guys later. Peace out.